Alrighty, g'day guys and welcome to the Bradley J. Driver Experience. I'm excited because this is round 2 with our guest today. Round 1, maybe a rookie error, bit of technical difficulties. We lost some memory on the computer and didn't get to record the whole episode. So it's a pleasure to finally be sitting back with these guys. I've got Mitch and Brian from NGC Thai Boxing. These guys have been in the ring themselves, been in the corner. They now train people for a living and have made a really good business out of it, and I love what these guys do. Fellas, welcome back. How are we?
Yeah, good.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
No, my pleasure. I was thinking about this, my first face-to-face back,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a nice feeling to be sitting across the table from people again.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that we've got that opportunity. What's been happening for you guys during this time? Are you enjoying it? Or
Yeah, look, I've been loving it. Yeah, I've been busy with work. I fortunately got a full-time job that I picked up literally just before this whole coronavirus thing. So I've been busy with that, but apart from that, just been that and home, which has been really nice, which is
time with the family?
something I haven't done for 8-10 years from doing PT and the gym and that. So it's been nice to be at home and eat dinner at home and stuff like that. It's been good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mitch, how have you been, mate?
Yeah, good. Like I said, I've been able to do a little bit here and there, but it's been good to spend time with the family and surf most days, be active. I've been running, training, so it's been really good. Rest my body from holding pads all the time now, and let the brain relax a little bit too with just the stresses of business and day-to-day activities at the gym. It's been good to just switch that off for a little bit and just spend time with the family and exercise for myself. So it's been good.
That's good. It's funny, coming into this episode today, I was reflecting back on our past chat, and I could remember most of the conversation we had, and we got into a heap of stuff, and I guess I wanted to sort of refresh on a little bit of that, but touch on some other stuff too. And I guess one thing I love to ask or speak to anyone about is their journey to where they are now. And obviously doing what you're doing, it's not the sort of industry that, I don't think it's the sort of industry that many people pick up too late in life and compete. So where did it start for you guys as young fellas?
Yeah, look, I mean, in saying that, for me, I think I started relatively late in the game. Like, I think I had my first fight when I was 27 or something like that.
I didn't realise. You might have said that last time, but I couldn't remember it being that late.
So I trained for 6-7 years maybe. I think I picked it up when I was about 20. I was racing motocross actually. I was just local stuff, but that's what I was into. I was racing motocross and I just wanted to get fit for that. And I was living in Sydney. A mate of mine said, "Oh, come along, you come check this out." I was living with him at the time. He's my best mate to this day. And he's like, "Come check this out." I went along and just pretty much fell in love with it. And then I'd done it as a fitness thing, but then it kind of just overtook everything, and that's more of a passion that I ended up with than anything else. And through 6-7 years, I went to uni and all this kind of stuff. When I finished uni, that's when I was like, I'm jumping in the ring. So
did
it
did it start as Muay Thai, or did it start as something else?
No, it was more like that gym that I was at up in Sydney was. You had boxing, you had kickboxing, you had Muay Thai, so they were a bit of everything. So that's kind of where it started. From there, and then it kind of just, I kind of done a little bit more kickboxing, and I found Muay Thai that's where it kind of changed for me. I think the Muay Thai was just a massive thing. Yeah, and I loved that side of it more than the kickboxing or anything like that. So,
Well, actually, we'll head on and chat a little bit more about that difference in the styles later, because I know we touched on that last time. Yeah. But Mitch, what about for you? You started a bit earlier in life, yeah?
Yeah, I not necessarily like the age. I didn't start Muay Thai at this age, but I did different combat sports and whatnot. When I started when I was 8, so I was pretty young. And then it just sort of started building and progressing and competition and that. So it's sort of like it's been a big part of my life since I was little. But I sort of fought in a few different things, and then that led on to and progressed into Muay Thai when I'd sort of reached the end of the road with like enjoyment and opportunities with other things, and then I just started Muay Thai for a bit of cross training for other styles that I was doing, and then reached the end of the road with them, then it was like, okay, let's take the Muay Thai thing a little bit more seriously and go ahead with that. I can't really remember. I think I was probably maybe when I made, like, I flirted back and forth and over the years there, but I think I started like my first taste of Muay Thai. I think I was probably 20 or 21, something like that. And then it became more of a full-time thing where drop all the other things and let's just focus on that when I think I was probably 24 or something. 24, 25.
Something around there, I remember.
It was
from the gym, I remember seeing you.
And I was going back and forth and doing different
and then I
things.
remember you coming on board full time.
It was
just around that time.
Yeah,
I was fighting. I started fighting and stuff like that. And I was 27.
So it probably would have been around that early 20s sort of. But I'd done I'd trained. I'd done boxing and other martial arts and stuff like that when I was young for about 8, and that built up through competition and whatnot. And as I said, when that reached its ceiling and at the end, that was when I decided to give all that away and then just let's just do the Thai boxing, and then that was when I was very early 20s, and then I took it a lot more seriously in those few years. So.
It's an interesting, like for me, it's interesting because I guess as a young guy growing up, I know you aren't that old, but we grew up in a different era, I guess, to a degree, but I didn't really hear about Muay Thai. Like, it's not very mainstream. In this day and age. Was it different back then? Did it have more exposure?
Yeah, I think it did. Well, to a point, I think it did. Like, there was a lot of it on Fox Sports.
Okay.
And they used to show it, I think it was once a week or something like that, but they used to show all the fight shows from Australia and stuff like that. So I think there was a little bit more exposure, mainstream, than I think there is now. I mean, you hear about it in bits and pieces, but it's not really just in the context of Muay Thai on its own. I think it's more as the UFC thing, and people say Muay Thai and like little bits and pieces like that, but I don't think it's as mainstream. Well, I don't even know if you call it mainstream, really.
Let's talk about that.
Fox Sports is relatively mainstream, but yeah.
Let's talk about that, because I know last time, and I'll get you boys to pull a bit closer to the mics too. We've been picking everything up, don't stress. I just want to make sure it's super crisp. No, I want to make sure it's super crisp for everyone. But we spoke about it a little bit last time. I think I asked you guys, it was a fight card. It's a bit controversial. It was a day, I think there was a big fight card on in the UFC, and I asked you boys whether you'd be watching. And maybe like there was that little bit of response that stems from a traditional love of the sport that you guys teach and have competed in. And that's the fact that maybe you guys aren't super invested in mixed martial arts, because you feel it's more of it's a mix as opposed to a pure pursuit of one specific martial art. Talk to us about that. What are your thoughts on it? Be as controversial as you want.
Look, to be honest, for me, it's I don't like to compare any of the combat sports, as in whether it's boxing and MMA or Muay Thai and MMA. They're just completely different sports, and it's like it's like if you've got an MMA guy in a boxing ring, he's not going to be effective, and I feel like it's vice versa. You put a boxer in the MMA arena, and he's not really going to be effective. It's just like they're two different sports for me. And it's like I think there's too much focus on who's better than who, and they're just different sports. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the exposure that obviously something happened, and I think it comes down to intelligent business minds at some point in time where the UFC began and they started to build this exposure, and it was probably exposure off the back of almost the violent, I guess the love of violence that some people have, that they were throwing these guys from all different martial arts backgrounds or sports cultures into a ring to basically figure out who was superior or who was tougher. And I think it was maybe that genuine curiosity as to how someone would survive against you know, the likes of, you know, I think I remember one of the Gracie boys stepping in there with the likes of some phenomenal stand-up guy, and people were so, it might have been there was a documentary on it, I can't remember, it was maybe Ken Shamrock back in the day.
Oh, yeah, it would have been.
And
I vaguely remember seeing
people were shocked because a guy who had a ground game could beat a vicious stand-up guy and wrestler. And I think that's where that natural curiosity started, and that started to grow as a business. Yeah. Do you feel like there's been real missed opportunities for Muay Thai as a sport within the mainstream?
Yeah, look.
Yeah, but where you talk about that, but you've got to think in Thailand, that's their national sport, really. So it's mainstream over there where it originates.
Yeah.
It's as mainstream as it gets. So it's just the Western world that probably hasn't embraced it as...
And I don't know whether it's like, and I know what you're saying about the UFC being, and that whole, the violence factor is, I think it plays a massive part in. I think people just want to see that. Like deep down inside, I think people are, like they'd love to see it as much as people are like, oh, we don't like seeing it, but
they want to see it.
I think that's how they got so big. Is like, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think, you know, that violence side of thing is where people are just like, they're just in awe of like, oh, holy.
Well, I think most people want to see what they wouldn't necessarily step in and do themselves. They want to see other people test those waters. But I know we definitely spoke about it last time. It surprises me how much, like how often I hear the comments, I wish they'd just stand up more. Like people watch the UFC and they're so critical of fighters going to the ground, which is it's a massive part of that sport.
But everyone wants to see everyone just stand
Everyone wants to see everyone stand up and throw punches and kick and be violent on the feet. But then you've got a sport like Muay Thai or a sport like kickboxing with like absolutely phenomenal athletes that are doing that on a regular basis. That just don't get the following they should.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, and I've heard this same thing. People ask the same thing over and over about just why is Muay Thai not getting the exposure or this and that, and I haven't got an answer, but I think it's like a lot of it is, you know, Thailand or Muay Thai in general is not I mean, yes, it's a violent sport, but the people that do it, they don't really shit talk and like, like I think that plays a massive factor in like, I mean, you look at Conor McGregor or Floyd Mayweather in boxing, like they talk shit and people love it and they sell it, whereas Muay Thai, you don't really get a lot of it. I think it comes from that whole, like, people are pretty respectful and they get along with each other.
It's more of a culture than a sport, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that plays a big part in, you look at social media these days, it plays a massive part, and like, that's what people love to see, like, people talking shit and carrying on and stuff like that. People love it.
It's the WWE side of it, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think Muay Thai doesn't have that.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever will, and I'd hate for it to go that way in the first place anyway. Like, I mean, I get everyone wants the mainstream and get it out there, but I'd hate to see it go that route.
Yeah.
I think it would ruin it. Yeah.
No, I get that.
But I don't think it will happen in Thailand, and it'll never happen, but, you know, who knows if it happens over here.
But you see, I don't think, like, just from my experiences, I think, like, as well with the Muay Thai, the Thais aren't really interested in the Western world and what they're doing with Muay Thai as well. They're quite happy to keep it within their country, and it thrives, it makes money for them, they've got a gambling scene there, and it just, they don't really respect Western Muay Thai, and they don't really have a care for that marketing approach to make it big outside of their own country. I'm sure there's some people that are ambitious, but
for the most part,
they're happy with what they're doing in their country and how it runs and the money it makes.
They just want to keep it for them.
They don't seem to be fussed. Like, they'll take opportunities overseas to make money, but they don't have a deep respect for Western Muay Thai or a need or desire to go to have it go.
I get that.
Especially like that stadium level type.
Yeah, it's
high level stuff.
Big and it's established there, so it's like you don't see the marketing go behind it around the world like the other styles, like the UFC and whatnot.
Yeah. It's interesting. Let's talk about Thailand, because you guys have both spent time there. With Mitch, you've spent a little bit more time there, because you've both spent time there with the gym crew, training, learning, fighting. Talk to us about the culture there that is present and what it's like to fight there as opposed to over here.
It's totally different. I mean, I've done it when you look at it, for me, it's at a low level in Thailand compared to where you could get in Thailand. Mine was at a low level stadium type, local stadium stuff, but it's still, the whole experience is totally different.
Yeah.
There's no fanfare. It's like just a normal part of life for them. It's no, it's super relaxed. It's just a normal day for them. Whereas here it's so built up, and it's like people talk about, I've got to do this 8-week camp, or they just like get in there and fight, and it's no dramas.
Is that because for them it's almost like a camp every week?
Yeah, well, no, not really. I mean, they still have their times where they don't really train that much and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they put some hard yards in for a couple of weeks, or maybe a week or 2 weeks, like when they need to. But yeah, they don't have this like extended camp and then have 10 weeks off and get fat and lose shape. They're relatively in good nick most of the time, you know.
For a lot of these guys, it's a way to make a living, right? Like over there, I've watched a couple of these, even these young kids who are like 16, 17, and it's their way of making a living for their family. So I guess it's that need to be ready all the time.
It's a job rather than a hobby.
Yeah. What was your experience over there, Mitch?
About what we talked about before, the culture and Well, I mean, one big thing for me was, I think, from one thing that stood out in the early days was the fact that I think over there, I mean, here there seems to be, and I'll say it, a lot of egos, and people seem to be sort of, they've got to project an image to sort of show relevance and that they're bigger than what they are over here. Like that's how I feel. And then over there, everyone gets along, and whether that's their culture or their religion or whatever, or it's just the sport, but it's not about egos, or I'm better than you, or I've got a bigger gym than you, or I've got the best fighters, or I've had more fights than you. And there's just respect across the board. And when you watch, and this is like we spoke before when I was living over there, so I got to go to fights, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. We'd go, when everything was on, we'd be there because we had nothing else to do. So that was the hobby. You'd just go and watch the fights all the time. When you see the way that everyone interacts and the respect that all the gyms and trainers and fighters have for each other, there's no animosity, no egos, no I'm better than you, or I've got to puff my chest out and say I've had this many fights. It's completely different to the way how, and that's not how everyone is over here, but there's a lot of that, and like I feel like it comes from those insecurities, and it's like, but over there it's completely different. It's not like that at all. Because
I feel like even the loss in that world is different, right? Because they fight so many times.
Yeah, well, it's like they like one thing that I always remembered and took from my times over there. I had a fight and I'd lost, and I was really down on myself about it, and it was a close one. And again, I was really upset about it. And then I remember one of the Thai boys said to me when they were taking my wraps off and everything, they're like, "Don't worry," they said, "sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It doesn't matter. As long as you fight well, it doesn't matter." And they said it's just like football or something. They said sometimes you win, you come back next week, you lose, you come back again, you win. It's not about the victory for them. It's about the performance and showing spirit. That's what it's about.
Spirit and pride and the way that you fight.
Yeah, I just, like Mitchell said, for me, I remember taking away the fact of just as long as you fight, like they're big on that fighting with heart. And if you fight with like all you got and you win or lose, it doesn't really matter for them. As long as you like went in there and put in 110%, that's all that matters, really. Like if you win or lose, big deal. Like Mitch said, you come back next week or 2 weeks later and do it again, and you go from there. Yeah,
definitely.
It's just the passion, like a little bit about what I said before, like how they interact with each other, and just sitting back and watching it at the stadiums and sort of being a little bit closer to it, because when you're fighting for a gym and you're living there and you're immersed in it, you get to see that little bit. You're spending a lot more time backstage and seeing a lot more of that, and it's just genuinely it's you think to yourself like, this is Muay Thai, these are the real people, and they're operating at such a high level, and as I said, there's no insecurities and egos or anything like that. It's just passion about their sport, and they just all respect each other and interact with each other really well. It's completely different to how it operates over here.
Well, like in terms of the training and the style of training over there, I think last time you guys said it really depends on the gym and the way they train their fighters. Is there a particular style that you feel like you guys are adopting over here? Because I know you've obviously had Komsan come through from Thailand, and there's that connection there, and you guys have trained at that gym and taken some of the boys over there. So, like, what do you try to bring back here that is very, I guess, culturally present and Thai style?
Yeah. Look, I think it's just about being smart. And I think there's just too many people just think it's just go in there and throw whatever you want and just go hell for leather and try and bash someone. And it's not really my style. I don't really like that kind of style where it's so full on. I think it's like being a little bit more patient and smart about what you do and just thinking about everything you do. It makes a difference, and everything you do, you need to do it with a purpose, and you need to know why you're doing something. It's not just go in there and just throw it because I told you to throw it. Like, you got to know why you do it or when you do it and stuff like that. Like, I think that's what makes a massive difference, and that's what we try and teach the boys and the girls that are in the gym. Like, you got to be smart about what you do and do it at the right time and do it with a purpose. You know, that makes a difference for me, definitely. Yeah.
One of the big things I've noticed within Muay Thai is, I guess, the consistency of sparring as opposed to the heavy sparring. It's more like touch sparring or light sparring, which makes sense because, you know, I've heard of gyms where guys are going in there and bashing each other every day. How can you possibly be healthy? Do you feel like that's just part of that intelligence?
Yeah, 100%. Like, that whole sparring hard all the time is just, it makes no sense at all. And I guess it just comes from what you've been exposed to and stuff like that, or, you know, it just makes no sense to me at all. I think that whole being smart about it and smart with your training, smart with your sparring, it all kind of makes sense and makes people perform at a level when they need to perform, not so much in the gym. They need to perform when it's in the ring.
Yeah,
at
definitely.
the right time. Like, do it in the gym, but it doesn't really matter in the gym, in a sense, you know. Like, yeah, you can
that's the thing.
do it in the gym, but, like, if you can't replicate what you're doing in the gym in a fight, then what's the point, you know?
I've heard guys like Izzy Adesanya talk about some of the people that train at City Kickboxing in New Zealand, and he reckons there's some guys at that gym that are killers. Like, in terms of sparring, unbelievable, but just don't...
Just put them on the stage.
Put them on the stage and they're a different human being.
Well, it's like with any sport, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think any sport's the same. Like, there's guys you hear about that are amazing on the practice court or wherever it may be, and then you put them on the big stage and they just crumble and turn to water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
What's the difference for you guys between... I know there's a clear difference in a number of the rules and the way that it's fought, but for a lot of people, they don't understand the difference between Muay Thai and kickboxing. For a lot of people, that's the same thing, and one of them is just a cultural difference. Explain that.
Well, it's probably a lot of that you just said. There's like the cultural thing plays a big part as well, but I think straight up you can think the obvious with the clinching and the elbows. You don't have that in kickboxing, and I think it's a different style where kickboxing, from my mind, I know the different forms of kickboxing, but you got to think a lot of it originates back from martial arts and boxing gelled together, so it can have a very bouncy in and out sort of style. Where Muay Thai is not about that, because there's like a lot more weapons and a lot of different things you can do. That it just doesn't suit that style of like as I said, like they're on their toes, they're bouncing and they're moving. With Muay Thai is a little bit different, but for me, that big part is the elbows, the kneeing, the clinching, and the cultural stuff too.
Yeah. How do you see, like, obviously there's whilst it's not super present or mainstream here in Australia or New Zealand or any of the Western countries, America for that fact too, Who are the real killers in the sport? Western world and over in Thailand for Muay Thai.
Countries or
Fighters. So if you take, say, the Western world, would there be a couple picks from the Western world, and would there be a couple picks from Thailand that you guys? Because a lot of people listening to this, like I was surprised off the back of when we last spoke, and I put it out there that we were filming this episode, and even again saying you were coming in. Heaps of people I didn't know that actually train Muay Thai and love the sport, and like people in Sydney and from Melbourne that follow me and were like, oh, we're really keen to listen to this. And people off the back of David's episode who really enjoyed that. And I'm interested to hear, because a lot of them wanted to know maybe some references over in Thailand. That would be good to watch and good to learn from, as well as here in Australia and New Zealand.
Well, I mean, there's...
You can
like
just anything at the top stage.
The list is endless, but if you look at, like, if we want to talk some of the top guys that I personally like, or and you could probably find on YouTube and stuff like that. You look at someone that's fighting regularly on that one championship, and he still fights in the stadiums. His name's Rod Tang.
Okay.
I mean, he's a bit of a weapon. Everyone loves him because he's got a pretty aggressive style, and I don't mind. I like watching that aggressive style. Yeah.
Even if you're a pure technical fan, you can't deny that to watch him is pretty exciting.
I think another one who might not, for me personally, might not technically be the greatest guy, but he's got a massive heart. His name's Sexan, and I think them two have had I think not long ago they had an amazing battle, which was, you'll probably find it on YouTube or something like that.
Yeah.
They're probably two, just off the top of my head. But there's, look, where do I go with it?
I like Sangmini.
Yeah, Sangmini's good. Man, it's just like,
What weights are these guys fighting at?
A lot of them, I think the most common one's about 58 kilos.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, like there's nothing over.
But they cut
I think the stadium titles, the big stadiums, the stadium titles end at 69. Like that's it.
I was going to step in there for a big stadium fight, boys. I'm probably a bit too heavy, eh? Yeah. I'll get me out of it. I'll get me out of it.
Yeah, and because that's all they got. If you're a big fella, like
you would struggle, wouldn't you?
70s, 80s, and I think probably David. I think David talked about it on the company. It's like he doesn't get that many opportunities in Thailand just because he's
a bigger fighter.
Yeah, he's a bigger fighter.
He stretches to get 74, so ideally it was like 76.
Yeah. So that's where he struggled. Like if you're a big guy, you get amazing experience, but like fight wise, he gets just the same experience as he gets.
Yeah.
In Thailand as he does here, or if he gets to go overseas or anything like that, Yeah.
Who do you think, like, is there anyone that's competing that's done that crossover to other sports from Muay Thai that is performing really well that you can note?
Crossover
to like a MMA
like gone to an MMA or like to a kickboxing or to traditional boxing.
What's that guy from Sitsongpinong? What's his name?
Sidichai.
Yeah, Sidichai. He's gone from Muay Thai and now he was at Glory.
Yeah, Glory.
Yeah, he was a Glory champion. I think he was a champion for a while. And there was another guy, another Thai fella.
Glory's got good exposure, doesn't it?
Yeah, but again, I think it's because it's got that European, because kickboxing's big in Europe. So
Dutch kickboxing's big, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think again they've got that they can market it well over there.
And they've tried to go into America as well and stuff like that. So I think they've got a bit of a following.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's just off the top of my head, I don't even know Westerner style who we can look at.
Look, it's hard. If you're talking at the very, very top, like
you look at, Rafi's at the top as a Westerner, but he's been living there in Thailand for
10. I think about 8 years now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, there's heaps of guys out there.
There's guys fighting at
like local guys. So if you look at who do we look at? Like Toby Smith's probably one that's up there.
But again, he's big. Like it's hard to, like he's going to fight lots of other Western guys and like European guys and whatnot, because he's what 70, he fights at 76 or something. So he's not really going to get at this age and weight those big fights that he could get because he's heavy.
Toby Smith, so local, you mean? Like
no, as in like he's a WA.
Oh, okay.
He's a WA guy, yeah.
Okay.
But again, he's got that super aggressive style. We'll just like hunt you down and like
clinch.
Fitness is amazing, so you can just
isn't stepping
walk
back.
Him down. Yeah, he just goes forward. Yeah.
So what about
watch?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, real good.
So for you guys, how's this whole like COVID's obviously affected the fitness and gym world massively? I heard something about like soon gyms could reopen.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I've been talking to the COVID hotline a bit just to see what we can and can't do. And again, it's really up in the air. If you call them, you'll get one thing off one operator, then you call back an hour later, you get a different operator, and they tell you a different thing. So it's really up in the air, really great. But
I feel like we're going to be the last.
I think so too.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
To open.
Yeah,
as in like gyms are going to be the last ones that are going to be like, right now he's going to open.
Because I know when we spoke last time, you guys were excited. There was some big things coming up, and obviously this has halted a lot of that. Are the plans coming back into business to almost flow on with what was going to happen pre-break, or do you think there'll be an adjustment period again?
See, I think there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period. I think it might be all well and good to have the doors open, but for everyone to be comfortable to come back. As in, I think people will come back, but to where we were at before with the numbers of our memberships and how many people were getting in classes, I think that'll take a little while to get back. Because I think everyone will be a little bit apprehensive to start with. I think you'll get those people that have always been keen and they're ready to go, they'll do it. But I think every now and again people may just hold back a little bit. So I think a lot of the plans that I'd had in mind and the direction, it's still on track, but I think it's just going to take a little bit of time push back at 6 months or something. You know?
I think you guys will bounce back well, because I think if I look at, I've missed it because it's not necessarily the sort of thing that you can't shadow box against the wall, or you know what I mean. You can't really do it at home by yourself. And like I've missed being able to get in and someone hold pads and do that stuff that we do at training, where I think commercial gyms will take a real hit.
I think that culture that we have, or just the community kind of vibe, like
everyone's craving it.
And just like having a chat with your mates while you're training or having a bit of a laugh. I think that'll definitely help us. But like we said, I do feel like it's going to take a little bit of time. I think we're going to be fine. When it does open up, fingers crossed. I hope it does. All people come back, but there's still, you're always a little bit apprehensive of, like is it going to happen, or people going to be like, I don't know.
I will say I've enjoyed watching some of the guys and the girls from the amateur boxing crew battle it out for their 10K runs. I've enjoyed watching. I definitely won't be participating. It's starting to get pretty competitive. There's some times there.
I spoke to I was talking with a couple of the fighters just the other day, and I said I've had to stop recording my times or putting my app on because it's getting that competitive that I'm starting to not enjoy my races. Every time I get out there now, I'm having to redline it and like go wrong. So it's like I'll be running a hard 10Ks, like hard and just hating it, and then having to back it up again a couple of days later because I want to beat that person's time.
What are we looking at for 10Ks? I seen it might have been I might have seen Lawrence maybe yesterday or today.
Shannon, he's the top dog at the moment. I think he may have gotten 39 or 40 minutes.
It's crazy.
Wow.
I think I think Loz is another one that was up there pretty good.
I seen he put something up this morning actually.
It looked like a good pace. I think it was 4. I might be discrediting him. 4:19 or something. Okay.
Get under the 4K, like having a bit of a joke about he needs a bit of EPO to get under the Well,
I think 4K. When it started, I'd gotten the ball rolling and I sent a couple of times out there that I was getting, and then it was the benchmark was the 10Ks. That's what everyone was aiming for, and I think it got so hard and so competitive that it kind of dialed it back down to like 5K times now.
Okay.
It's just
I think that's good, though. I like that whole bit of friendly competition. I think
it keeps community. Even for someone like me, who's not actively competing in that, but watching, it G's you up to get back to training and go back to doing that.
I'll tell you something funny, actually, because I'm super competitive, but because I'm not fighting as much or training as like I used to, it annoys me that I can't keep it. I want to be the top time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was running and I had a 10K track going, and I ran so hard at the start that I hit the wall, and I've never really done that before, and I was about 5Ks into it, and I was actually had those demons where I was going, quit, just stop. I'm physically not going to be able to do it. And then it's like telling, no, you're a pussy, keep going. It's like, and then keep going. And then I thought, you know what, I'm in for a chance here to get the time, because I pushed through it, and then I pushed and I'd go even harder, and I got to Mount Kira road to the bridge, and you know how far from my house I was, literally made a K and a half, 2 Ks out, and I stopped and I threw up twice on the way home, and then that was when the time was over there. I just had to miserably walk home for the last kilometre. It was like,
I seen it the other day, and I seen maybe three guys from the gym put stuff up, and I thought, fuck, it's been a while since I've run. I might have a crack. So I went for a walk to warm up, and I got down and I thought, I'll run on the grass, because I struggle with my back. When I run, I feel like a 60-year-old man. Don't know why, just I'm not a runner. And I reckon I ran for about 6-7 minutes. I was like, fucking hell, that'll do me. I'll go fucking have a swim, I think. So, but it's good. It's good to see everyone keeping in shape. I think that's been the real positive out of this. I've created some probably really good habits that I never would have created, I don't think, if it wasn't for, cafes. Like usually, I was saying to a mate the other day, I'd wake up in the morning, first thing I'd do is roll out of bed, have a shower, rock up and sit for like an hour and a half, have literally 2-3 coffees and breakfast at a cafe every morning. And it was just like a really lazy start to my day. Even though I was out of bed early, it wasn't productive. Where now it's been like roll out of bed, swim some laps in the ocean pool, go for a walk, might hit some weights later. I think there's a lot of really good habits that people will have created.
Out of like what's been happening, because even you see people walking, or like just locally where I live, you just see families walking, getting out of the house. I think it's been one good thing where people just are getting out of the house and like going for a walk, or they're forced to actually do something at home, or like do some weights at home, or have a little setup in your garage, or whatever it may be. Like I think it's good. It's forced people to get that stuff going. Because
I know a big concern for a lot of people pre this was the mental health concerns, and how people would feel being sort of crammed in their house. But I think there's obviously going to be some people who are financially struggling, which you can understand. There's going to be some battles there, but I think most people will probably come out of it with a better headspace. I think it'll actually be harder for people to go back to what it was before and adjust again.
My missus doesn't want to go back to to the office. She's like working, but I mean, granted, it's hard at home because we've got a little daughter, and her trying to work and look after her is hard. But the whole working from home, she's like, I'm loving this. Definitely. It's hard for her to go. I think she said it this morning. She's like, I don't think I really want to go back to the office. But I think it's been good. Like in ways, it's been good.
Definitely. So when everything opens back up, what are the plans for the gym long term? They obviously might not happen as quickly as you'd hope, but I know there were some big things in the works and some things you want to see within the future growth of giving the members more opportunities and those sort of things. Have a chat about that.
Well, I don't really want to give
too much away.
Anything away, so I probably have to shut that one down. I think, look, just without going into the absolute details, for me, there's a few things that are looking at happening that probably haven't been done before in this area.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I think it's, I mean, not to say it's never been done before, but what's going to be offered down here is going to be big in that regard. So
that's good to hear.
Yeah, so it's just trying to take it. I think just, and it's not from a competitive nature or anything like that. It's just purely like I want to be able to offer something, and the Illawarra, how I feel from my experiences from what I've done over in Thailand, and just have people experience and see and be around as much as I can replicate that as possible.
Yeah.
That's I want everyone here to be able to have that opportunity experience and sort of take the sport down here to places it sort of hasn't really been developed and been. So
that'd be great.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I think pretty much everyone knows is we really want to get Comsan back.
Well,
I was going to ask about that.
We're in the process of having him.
Yeah.
He was just then as soon as COVID came, it just got shut down.
And it sort of hit too quickly to organise anything, didn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one thing that we really want to get him out because apart from his knowledge, but I just think his personality and his vibe and his nature is like, everyone loved it. Yeah,
it's a great spirit to have around the gym.
We had a single person talk bad about him or negatively, apart from the fact of what's her name? I can't remember. A lady at the gym who broke her wrist.
Yeah.
But just by accident with Comsan. But but apart from that, I think we want to get him back because he's just good to have around the gym.
Definitely.
Is it? He brings that wealth of knowledge with him that you just can't replicate. You know?
Do you see an opportunity for that? Because obviously for those guys, like I can imagine for him. Real opportunity to make money here that makes a difference back home for him. For sure. Is there an opportunity for that to happen more frequently or consistently? And it's probably more so the organisational around visas and all that sort of stuff that is hard to manage.
Yeah, well, I think it's something that we can do. Like I know in Sydney, a couple of the bigger gyms have got 2, 3, 4 Thais as trainers that are full time at their gyms and stuff like that. So
that'll obviously be contingent on membership numbers growing, all those sort of things.
Yeah, like it's something in the pipeline that if we could do that down the track, that'd be great. Yeah.
Like I seen cast back your minds a little bit. I seen Kanzi post on, might have been on Facebook a week or two ago. Some footage of maybe his young bloke training in the gym, and like going back a lot of years ago. It's changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, that was when we owned it. Like Kev Manderson, I don't know if you know Kev Manderson. He's a Canadian fella who's ex-MMA fighter. And we had him, I think, because his missus, Sarah, used to train with us. So then we just got to know Kev, and then Kev opened up a gym, and then he got me in there just as teaching Muay Thai. I'd just been there a couple of times a week, and he ended up opening up over there where we are now. But he, what happened there? We took his lease over because he was going to the cops, or he got into the cops or something like that. So he ended up becoming a copper. So we took the lease over and basically gutted the place and just changed it a fair bit to the way we wanted it to look and stuff like that. And I still think the gym, there's still stuff that we haven't done in the gym that we want to do to the gym and stuff like that. Like it's still just a continual process that we
definitely
keep going. Yeah, but it's a bit of a change from
massive change.
Yeah.
So how long have you had the gym for now? How long has NGC been present?
Nearly 3 years. It'll be 3 years.
3 years next month.
End of next month.
Is it?
So it'll be 3 years up and running.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say that this has been the toughest time that you guys have had to face as business owners?
I personally don't think so. I think the start was for us. The start was the hardest.
Yeah. Talk about that, because obviously it's for anyone.
That's how I feel anyway. I think the start was always. It's just the whole. I mean,
you're stepping out of your comfort zone and you're putting it on. You're putting something on the line.
If people were going to turn up, yes, we had a little bit of a base, as in we had clients before, and we got not a massive name, but people kind of knew what we were doing and stuff like that. But I think that whole pouring your savings into a gym and stuff like that, and then just not knowing if it's going to turn out, have to pay rent and all that kind of stuff. It's just massive. And the backside of things is in the stuff that people don't see. That's huge. It takes up a lot of our time as well. Not just so much the face-to-face stuff, all the stuff behind of doing the books and all that kind of stuff. It just takes time, and it's just.
I think a lot of people realise how expensive all that gear is during COVID. Yeah. Like people going out and buying gear and being oh my god, how expensive is this stuff?
To buy bags like a couple $100 or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and you put 15 bags in your gym, it starts like going up after a while.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I know, like we try and put as good equipment as we can afford into the gym. We don't want to buy stuff that's crap that's just going to fall apart.
Yeah.
You know? It's
probably nearly coming on a year since I signed up. I reckon it was probably like maybe July last year that I come in for my first session.
Yeah.
And I noticed a massive, like, I reckon the first couple months I was there to then there was just a certain point where it was probably like that 2 months leading up to when Comsan come over, where I just noticed like maybe it's starting to get a bit warm again and those sort of things, but just like the class is getting busier and like more presence around the gym consistently.
It's funny that you say that because I think we sort of, in my mind, we sort of really changed like that. For me, we changed a little bit of the structure of how we were doing things and re-looked at how the format of what we were teaching and thought, how about we head down this direction a little bit, you know? And then I think I noticed that over there, I think would have maybe a 3-month period, like before Comsan came over, it just we always had good numbers, but it all of a sudden was like that, and it just came up.
Yeah.
And it just kept building when Comsan came over. So it was like there was a big spike a few months beforehand. I think it was just by
that back end of last year and that.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of change and
we changed the timetable and stuff like that, just how we done.
And I think
I feel like it made a bit of a big difference. So.
And to piss in your pocket, like one thing I really noticed is usually with that sort of thing, when you see numbers increase, quality decreases, but I felt like it just kept getting better. Like you guys manage numbers really well, and I feel like everyone who attends actually, like, you know, we all do the, and this is no discredit to anyone who's training people, but we all do the, you know, walk past the beach and you see some people hitting pads and you just think that's a couple shoulder surgeries waiting to happen, or like it's just you can't figure out what's actually going on. I feel like everyone that comes to NGC leaves better.
Yeah. Well,
not just fitter, but like technically better and with a better understanding and like passion for the training that they're doing.
Yeah, but
and to me, that's big.
I feel like for that, and it's something that we, for me, and like I know Brian will agree with this, it's like, it's not about, I think that comes about a lot of time is like, let's get as many people as we can in there and let's make as much money as we can. But I think for both of us, it's genuinely, it's not about the money. Like, it's great to be able to sustain a lifestyle and make an income from it, but I think our passion overrides the financials, and I think that shows in like what we're teaching. And
definitely.
We're adamant that this is how you've got to do things and do it this way, and try to across the board have everyone to a certain standard. And I think that is more that comes through for me as passion rather than money, you know. And that's what for me, like I think that's what our gym, one of the big things that it's about.
Is there for you guys a real excitement in seeing guys and girls come into the gym, that beginners, people that just want to get fit and learn a new skill and then start to progress towards that fighter class and start to then want to compete and have that drive to get in the ring? Yeah,
I just think seeing people change, or just the passion that people end up getting for it. I think for me that's one of the best things to see is how much, you know, because I know what it feels like to have the passion for it, but to see other people start to get that passion for it, it's really good.
Because I know for me, I went through probably a 2-year period. Like I went from being super active all the time and training heaps and like every day looking forward to training and being at the gym, to where I fell out of love with hitting weights. Yeah. And like just felt lost for like 2 years, where like I was training here and there, but it was more so just to make sure that I didn't turn into the side of a house. And like.
But I done the same with Muay Thai. I fell out of love with Muay Thai when I stopped fighting. I had enough of it. I was done. I'm like.
Is that just because you'd spent so much time?
And I was holding pads and doing that, but in regards to watching fights or like having. I was done for it. There was about a year where I'm like, I didn't train it. I didn't want to hit a pad. I didn't want to do any of it. And then, obviously I come around. But I got to a point there where I was like, no, I'm done with this stuff. Like, I just couldn't be bothered. I'd finished fine. I was over it. Like I think I was having dramas with my feet. I just couldn't do anything properly. It was just, it was a bit of a sideshow and I was done with it. But I come good. But
I think that's anything.
It's with anything, but because Muay Thai is such a hard sport,
especially if you
don't have those rest periods and have those bits where you can just kind of like get away from it. I think you can really suck the life out of it. Just like anything. I think it's with anything.
I think for me, like it reignited that drive to like achieve or improve at a skill. Which I think lacks in a lot of the commercial gym spaces. You can get bigger, you can get stronger. But I feel like I don't know, like I really enjoy rocking up, especially when I was working like a corporate style job. I got so used to rocking up to the gym and half-assing it. And there's no such thing as half-assing it in one of those classes. Like it doesn't work because you've just got one training. The amount of times I've walked in there and I thought, I'll go 70% today. And you just get the right person behind the pads that ain't going to let you go 70%. Like, it just turns into really good workouts all the time. And for me, that reignited a passion with training and wanting to push myself.
That variety makes a difference. I think just doing weights every day can get pretty monotonous and boring. And some people love it. And if they're in that headspace, go for it. But I think just that variety, because every day you come is going to be, you don't do the same thing every day.
Yeah, that's right.
Like we're always doing something different. Every class is going to be different. We might do some of the things that are the same, but it's always different, So I think that definitely helps keep people interested.
Definitely. I think there'll be a lot of people that listen to this episode here today and are curious and want to try it. So obviously that's going to be subject to how quickly things reopen and what the government decides to do. But in the meantime, are you guys still active on the social platforms?
As much as we can. It's sort of we have been trying to keep things up to date with what we're doing and whatnot, but there's because we can't do anything really in the gym. There's only so much you can keep active with.
But so if say someone wanted to message you and have a bit of a yarn about
for sure. Still contact us definitely. It's still like in that regard, business as usual. We're still interacting with prospective clients and current clients, so we're still getting lots of messages and whatnot.
Definitely.
Still keen.
People are keen to get going again once it all kind of ramps up again. We get a fair few messages like that. People are like, I'm keen to start whenever it does happen. But
there's not really, there's a few, but there doesn't seem to be too many gyms that are doing what you guys are doing. And dare I say, doing it as well as you guys are doing it. I'll toot your own horn because I know you guys are probably too humble too. But I think, like I said, massive credit to you. I love the culture that you've built there. I know we spoke about it last time. I think as far as feeling like you belong to something and like feeling like there's a really comfortable culture where people can come in and improve themselves and get better and feel comfortable in that space, which is, I think, far more comfortable and far more accepting than any commercial gym I've ever walked into or any other space that I've ever trained in. So a massive credit to you guys for achieving that. Are there any famous last words for the Bradley J Driver experience before you guys leave?
No, I don't have much, mate. I don't know. I don't really have much to say, mate. Apart from, I mean, look, if people want to come and check it out, like when we're open, I hope it's all, when we open, it can be not restricted to say 5 people class or 10 people class. I mean, if that's what happens, then that's what we have to do. But I'd tell people to come and try, at least come and try it out. If you don't like it, then it's not for everyone. It's not. You're never going to please everyone, but we'll do as much as we can to try and help you. And it's just the gym's a comfortable place to come to.
Definitely.
It's not I don't think with what we've built, even if you do get guys who are dickheads or they pretty much get weeded out.
Definitely.
So they probably just don't feel comfortable in the space that they're in, where,
Unreal. So you can find these guys on socials at NGC. Is it NGC _ Thai Boxing?
No, just NGC Thai Boxing.
NGC Thai Boxing.
Yeah.
Mitch Brisbane, Brian Banco.
Yeah.
I never say it right.
Yeah,
there you go. You heard it from the man himself. Thank you guys so much for coming on. I'm glad we could finally get this.
Yeah.
From the looks of the computer, the audio is crisp and clean, which is exciting. And I'm looking forward to putting this out there. There's been a lot of people for months that have been hammering me. When are the boys coming back on? We want to listen. So I appreciate you guys coming through.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Cheers.
No worries at all.
Thank you.